He'll make an opening statement, and then we will open it up to questions. I'll turn it over to Coach.
All right, thank you, Claire. It was Saturday was a great way to finish off this season as our last home game for the seniors, and I was really pleased with the performance in all three phases. The ability for really offense and defense to adapt and adjust to some different looks. Offensively, I thought they did a really good job of mixing in tempo and some RPOs, and obviously ran and threw the ball really well and finding ways to get the ball into the hands of our playmakers and getting multiple playmakers on the field at the same time. We did some different things and trying to get a couple different wideouts on the field in different packages, but at the same time. And, I told Coach Parker, the ability to go 5 for 5 in the red zone is something I don't think we've done all year. And so that was huge in terms of finishing with points, finishing with touchdowns in the red zone. And I thought those young guys, the young wideouts play well, but even Ashton Craig and Billy in their first starts really performed at a high level. And I was pleased at that in their preparation and the way the coaches got them ready. And defensively, again, 7 points is obviously a great performance by our defense. And I think they held them to less than 100 yards passing, and I told Coach Golden that was a really good job. And we talked in length about our pass defense and that, as I said post-game in the press conference, you got to be good at stopping the run with a lighter box, right, when you want to play pass defense. But also you got to be okay with giving up a 4-yard run, 5-yard run, whereas it's probably changed a little bit from my time as a defensive coordinator. Was like, if they get more than a yard, you're frustrated. I'm going to pressure and do some different things. But the ability for us to be like, okay, they got 4, they got 3 here. But at the end of the day, keep them out of the end zone and really be successful in the pass defense has been tremendous for us as we continue to move forward. And then special teams blocked a field goal, surprise onside. The execution of that was really good to see. So players of the game for offense is Sam, me, Hartman, J.D. Bertrand on defense, and then Javante Jean-Baptiste on special teams with the block field goal. And then the scout players of the week were Chris Vallada on offense, Jaden Osbury on defense, and Chase Dixon on special teams. And so turning the page of Stanford, really motivated for the opportunity to play for the Legends Trophy. For many of the guys that were here last year, understand how disappointing that loss was to them, and there won't be a lack of motivation this week to go compete for that trophy in this great rivalry that dates back for many years. And we understand how important that is to this university, but also to our football program. So looking forward to getting back together today, studying and learning from the opportunities that we had in Wake Forest, but also turning the page and getting ready for this great opportunity on Saturday. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Second row on your right, Tom Noy.
Marcus, how do you take all three phases, offense, defense, special teams, on the road now and play with maybe that swagger and confidence that they showed on Saturday?
Yeah. Obviously 2 of our 3 losses have been on the road. You look at the Clemson game. I've looked at the Clemson game, looked at the Louisville game, and we haven't performed to our standard on the road. And as I told the coaches, I don't want to make this only a road issue, but we haven't performed to our standard. And so as I studied those games, we got to start better. I think both of those games we were down Clemson 7-3 and then Louisville, I think 7-0. To start the game. And we got to, from the first play of the game, have the mentality to we're going to have to go out there and win the interval on this play. We can't ooze into any game. And so it's my job to make sure we are mentally and physically prepared. As I told them, it's their job, too, to make the choice that we're going to be mentally ready to go. And so there's no one answer that can guarantee it's going to happen, but it won't be from a lack of effort by myself and our coaching staff to make sure this group is ready.
What can you tweak as far as messaging or schedule or anything, just to maybe change it up to make sure you do start better?
Yeah, I plan on changing a little bit of the structure, not the overall how we're practicing, but maybe the structure and have some more competitive periods early in practice. So that it's just like a game. I don't want to go through stretch and then individual and then group work and then team. And that's usually how you kind of structure practice. You go individual, part to whole, right? Individual, group work, team. But I'm probably going to start with some team good on good situations early in practice just to get them in the right mindset of, okay, whenever we say go, it's go. And I'm going to try to do that in practice.
Second row on your left, Tyler James.
Marcus, play action was very successful against Wake. How much was that Wake dependent, or how much is that something that you guys know needs to be a part of your offense?
Yeah, I think that is definitely a part of our offense that we believe we have to continue to get better at. When you have success running the ball, play action obviously is a compliment to that. They were doing some things defensively that gave us an opportunity to have some success with the play action game and some RPOs too, especially. We really did a good job of hitting on the RPOs, but that is an area of our offense that will continue to have to grow and get better. But if we want to continue to have performances like last week, we got to be successful in our play action pass game.
And we've seen Steve Angeli get some meaningful reps at the end of games, and he's looked pretty good. How much has that shaped what you think of Steve Angeli, just being able to see that out on the game field, even in maybe some moments that aren't high leverage?
Yeah, the confidence that he's building in our program is evident by his performance on Saturdays. He works tirelessly in practice. He does a great job in practice, but again, until you do it in the game, that true confidence and belief isn't totally there. But he's done an excellent job. I'm so proud of him, and it's a reflection of the way he prepares. He's ready for whenever his number's called, and so we have a lot of confidence in Steve Angeli.
Down in front on your right, John Bryce.
Hey, Marcus, I think you guys are 14-4 overall since last year's loss to Stanford. Much of that has been just your program settling in and taking root and developing.
Yeah, when you say that, I think about the 4 losses, and I'm growing as a leader. Our program is continuing to enhance. We have to continue to get better. There's parts of our program that we have to continue to get better, right? And and it starts with making sure as the head coach that everybody is ready to perform when it matters the most, but also the way we prepare. And it's great when you think 14-4. It's a credit to our players, our coaching staff, in terms of the growth we've made. But there's a tremendous amount of growth we can continue to still do.
Along those lines, what are those growth steps, both in the near term and big picture, as you try to move this program where you want it?
Yeah, the ability to win some of those close games. I know obviously we did versus Duke this year, but you think about the Ohio State game. That's a one possession, one play game to result in a different outcome. You think about Clemson. It's an 8-point game, and the plays that you want back. And as I've said this previously, I think it's easy to just say one play here, one play there, but what other aspects of your program and performance can you continue to enhance to make sure that you're getting the outcome you want, right? And so it's a process, right? It's a process to getting to that point that we have to continue to keep diving in, keep figuring out, keep working at it, because it will never stop. You'll never arrive. You'll never be at a point where you say, we got it. It's just a constant work, a constant preparation. And then on game days, you go and you play, right? You test to see where your group's at. But we want to make sure we're on the right side of all those 18 games and not 14-18.
Third row on your left, Tim Priester.
Coach Golden came out real aggressively defensively against Wake Forest, blitzed a lot, put a lot of pressure on the young quarterback, and then Coach Ruggiero adapted a little bit and ran some gadgets. Stanford has even more, right?
Yeah.
You've got 2 quarterbacks that can be on the field at the same time. Realistically, how do you prepare for everything that an offense has to offer, and then adjustments made from one week to the next?
Yeah. It was funny. I walked into Coach Golden's office on Sunday, and it was like a mad scientist stuff all over the board. I'm like, oh, man. I haven't even started looking at Stanford yet, and they're going to have a lot for you to prepare for. But at the same point, you still want your guys to have the ability to play fast. And so you never can prepare for everything you have to have answers for everything, but you can't over prepare for them because now you're going to paralyze your players. They can't play fast. And so I think the greatest thing about it is the ability to have those answers, right? And we truly had to switch our game plan at halftime to some things we didn't practice all week because of what they were doing. We were practicing against a slow mesh, and we didn't really see a lot of that slow mesh until late in the game. And so, but that's what it's about. It's about its ability to have answers that your players understand. And then it's a game of adjustments, and we'll have to do the same thing versus Stanford.
And having a guy like J.D. Bertrand running things out there for you, I'm sure makes it a lot better.
Yeah, when you have J.D., you have some of those older guys, but also guys that have been in that system now for 2 years, right? And so it's not creating new defenses, but saying, okay, hey, guys, we didn't practice this, but everybody, we need to do this to stop what they're doing offensively. And that's, to me, when you can do that and your players understand and they can go out there and perform and practice fast, that's where you see a lot of success. But that takes time because in the first year, you might have answers, but your players can't understand them and play fast, right? Whereas as you got experience and you have time, I think the answers that you have and the ability for them to understand and go perform it, there is greater.
I apologize for a third question here, but you had some communication issues offensively at the end of the first half and also in the series after the onside kick. What are some of the issues that arise that create these problems? Because I know you could see that Sam Hartman was a little agitated about the whole communication process.
Yeah, it was a little bit of the one before half was a wristband error, kind of read the right one, wrong one. It was one of, and it's happened plenty other times this year, right? And that's the point of sometimes not wanting to signal, everything and to be able to change up how you communicate from the sideline to your quarterback, that at times you might read the wrong wristband number. And I think at that point, Sam was like, that's not the play we want right now. And so there was a community, that's where we had to call a timeout. But it's a part of the game, and we want to be flawless. And but at the end of the day, we got to make sure that on the next play, on this play, let's make sure we execute the right way.
On your right, second row, Sean Stiers.
Hey, Marcus. Obviously, you have no control over TV contracts or any of that kind of stuff. But the new deal was announced. Does it make your life, I guess, easier? In any way, whether it's recruiting or anything else, to have that out there now?
Yeah, I think it definitely does, because it adds to the value of what Notre Dame provides, right? And that's the ability for us to go sell that in recruiting it. You're the only college football program with its exclusive network, and to me, it's that Notre Dame value, the value that this place truly provides you. And so credit to Jack and his team and Pete and the ability to get this deal done. But it will definitely be beneficial for us in recruiting, because people want to know they're special. And I believe when you get a chance to play at Notre Dame and you have some of those things that we just mentioned, you realize how special it is.
Xavier Watts was not recognized before the game the other day. Can we read anything into that?
Yeah, he's not a senior. He was a guy I talked with. A lot of those guys, that might be going into their fourth year. I had a conversation with earlier, do you want to be considered a senior this year? And he was one of them that did not. And so I don't know what he's going to do in his future. And I'm sure that's what this question is pertaining to. I don't know. And he hasn't made a decision, but he didn't want to be considered a senior.
Front row on your left, Jack Sobel.
Marcus, you mentioned the Stanford game from last year. How much is that going to be a talking point, knowing this week, knowing what happened last year, but also knowing that this is a completely different Stanford team than you guys faced last year?
Yeah, the schematic aspect to it won't matter, but the motivation to understand how important this game is will matter. And so I want to make sure they understand it, especially for those guys that weren't here. It's important. There's the motivation. Everybody gets motivation in different ways, but part of our motivation is going to be for the respect of this rivalry. And so it will be brought up at multiple points during this week.
And then kind of a two-part question about the center position. How close was Zeke Correll to playing last week, and what's the status for this week? And then how much confidence would you have in Ashton Craig as your center next year if Correll were to move on?
He was not close. He wasn't cleared. He was in concussion protocol, and he's still in. We expect him to be back this week. But again, that's up to the doctor's decision. And we have a lot of confidence in Ashton. And I've seen it in practice. I've seen it just from talking with Coach Rudolph. And I'm really proud of the way he performed and his opportunity he had here on Saturday. And I'm really positive about the outlook of our future at the center position.
Front row, far right, Eric Hansen.
Hey, Coach, Deion Colsey, do you anticipate getting him back this week?
No.
Okay. Mm-mm. And just kind of along the injury line, since the freshman played so well Saturday with Thomas and even Matt Salerno coming back,
yeah.
Do you feel like you can maybe just go a little bit slower with folding them back into the group since the freshmen are playing at a higher level?
Yeah, JT, again, was not 100%, and he's still progressing back to, his full 100%, because when he's at 100%, man, he can really help us on offense. Salerno, obviously, this was his first week of any live action, so we were able to get him in there some. At the end of the day, we have to put the guys on the field that we truly believe are going to help us in that moment have as much production as we can, right? And so, but I have full confidence in a lot of guys in that room that whoever's on the field, that we're going to be able to run our offense to where we need it to be.
You've been really consistent about telling your team we want you to play to your potential and we want you to improve every week. Now that you're 8-3, this is the last regular season game. Do you talk big picture about, okay, here's our bowl options, here's what's out there for you to play for beyond your potential?
Yeah, that was bye week. I spent a lot of time during the bye week to talk about, hey, everybody needs hope, right? Hope and opportunity. And so I spent a little bit of time in the bye week talking about what we still have to play for and how good this team really can be. And as I told them Tuesday of last week, we've turned the page from that. Now it's about reaching our full potential and what it's going to take to be successful on Saturday. So the same thing as we go into this week. It's about one game, one life, this one. And the focus will be on the things that it takes to make sure that we have the performance we need to on Saturday. And then as we get into the bowl game, I'm sure I'll figure out what I'll talk about during that period. But I'm sure as we get closer to that bowl game, we're going to be talking about reaching our full potential.
Second row on the left, Mike Bernardino.
Hey, Mark.
How you doing, Mike?
Joe Rudolph now has already put 4 guys into the starting lineup for the first time for a variety of circumstances, all in the interior. What have you learned about his ability to make that transition easier for guys making a first start, and his teaching in general, his methods that you've been around now for a while? How is that making that possible?
Yeah, Coach Rudolph is an excellent teacher. And I've seen that even as a player. So I talked about that before. Even as a defensive player at Ohio State, the ability to see somebody teach is something that was implanted in my brain as I went into last year looking for an offensive line coach. And a lot of respect for him. And our coaches are really judged off the performance of their rooms, right? And so, when you see 2 first-time starters perform at a high level, that to me is a reflection of their coaching, right? Their ability, but their coaching. And Coach Rudolph has done an excellent job with that entire offensive line unit to get them ready and to get them perform at a high level.
And then you mentioned Pete Bavacqua a bit in the NBC answer, but what's it been like getting to know him? What's he been like in your interactions with him, especially maybe in some of the tough times after a loss? Is there how does he handle that part of his role at this point?
Yeah, Pete's been great. Pete's been excellent, in his transition with Jack. And, I think he's kind of like me last year, just figuring it out, right? Figuring out what it is to be a college athletic director. But he has been a great supporter, teammate, sounding board at times. So I'm excited for the future of Notre Dame athletics with him. But I'm also going to follow that up with obviously the respect and the admiration of what Jack Swarbrick has done for Notre Dame athletics. it's just mind-blowing, some of the things that he's created for this athletics program. And he is leaving this place way better than he found it. And to me, that's always the judge. To me, I judge people based off, is this, our seniors, Jack Swarbrick, like, is this place better than you found it? And I say with a whole certainty that it is. And so a lot of respect for Jack, and I'm going to enjoy these last however long he's going to continue to be around here with them, because he is a dear friend, dear mentor, and a person I have a lot of respect for.
Second row on the right, Chuck Freeby.
Tim mentioned the two quarterback situation at Stanford. How much differently does Stanford look on film this year as opposed to last year?
Very different. It's a different team. Unique offense. Do a lot of different things. You know, the one thing I'll say about Stanford is they play extremely hard on all three phases, but they play hard, and I got a lot of respect for a coach that gets their team to play that hard. But they've had to be adaptable to some injuries they've had. They lost their tight end. That was a really good tight end, and now they use that backup quarterback as a tight end, as a running back, as a quarterback, and so they're going to give you more looks as you break them down and you can prepare for. And so we're going to have to be really good with our adjustments based off what we see on Saturday.
Traveling to the West Coast is its own scheme and trying to figure out the logistics. And Notre Dame has not necessarily played well on the West Coast all the time. What's your travel plan for this week and your plan for trying to make this as successful a road trip as it can be?
Yeah. I made the decision, or we made the decision early in the year to, usually we leave on Thursdays. We're going to leave on Friday. And the reason being, I just from my feedback and dialogue, is just best for the performance to just keep it as normal as we have in the past. And so we have a great group that's going to have a great plan for the 4 hour, 15-minute flight out there, and what we'll do on the plane. And we'll feed them on the plane. We'll try to let them take a nap and keep them up. And then when we get out there, we got a plan for exactly when we land. And then it's a 4 o'clock game in our minds when we're out there. And so that's very similar to what we deal with here for our 3:30 game. So we wanted to keep it as normal as possible, even though it is a 3-hour time difference, that all these decisions that we make is to help performance, right? Nothing we do is just because it's like we believe this will help performance on Saturday. So I have a good confidence that our guys will be ready to roll.
Need to feed them again after Thanksgiving?
Yeah. I think we're going to feed them 7 times on Friday. So, yeah.
Third row, far left, Pete Byrne.
I also have to ask, what and how are you going to feed them on Thursday, and what does Thanksgiving look like for the team and for the coaches that's clearly out of the ordinary from the norm? Yeah,
so we'll practice Thursday morning, and we'll have a Thanksgiving meal as a team, and which is just great because this is, especially during the season, this is our family. And we all look forward as a coaching staff and our whole football program, not the coaching staff, but to have Thanksgiving together, and we'll give them the evening off, and then we'll get back on Friday and treat it like a normal Friday. We'll have our normal walkthroughs, run-throughs here, meetings, and then get on the plane and go.
Is it night off for everyone, or just the players, coaches too?
That's to be determined.
Okay. Stanford's obviously a school that you guys have had great rivalry with for decades, and as they move into the ACC, there's also a partnership there. I don't know if you've had conversations yet about, is it possible to keep them on the schedule on an annual basis or not, and how do you feel about that one way or the other?
I think it's an unbelievable rivalry. And as you look at both of our institutions, the values we have in terms of student athlete experience, the educational values that both universities provide, I think it's a great rivalry that we're going to try to continue to have as long as we can. And again, as you guys know, those decisions are made by people above me, but I'm always a proponent of making sure we can keep this rivalry as long as we can.
Down in front, Tyler Horka.
Since Sam kind of walked off with the funny spiel, whatever that was the other night, I'll give you an opportunity to have some fun. What are you thankful for, whether it's this team, on the field, off the field, when you look at what this year has meant to you, being the head coach at Notre Dame, last time we'll see you before Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for?
I think I said this earlier. No journey is ever how you foresee it on the front end, but you're appreciative of the people you get to be on the journey with, and that's what I'm thankful for, is the people that I'm surrounded by every day that are on the same journey as I am, and the players, the coaches, every person in our football program, the endless work they put into to try to get to earn the outcome that we want. It's not always the outcome we get. What we want isn't always what we get, but they continue to work and continue to choose to love each other, and it's a special place. It's a special football program, but this is a special place, and I'm so thankful to be here with this university and with this football program.
Probably should have asked that one after this one, because now I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. This is a top 10 team, I think, in both yards per play for and yards per play against your team. When you look at the 8-3 record, what are some of the things, you kind of talked about the close games earlier, but to maybe be 10-1, 11-0, what was the difference between what you guys are and that kind of record?
Yeah, it's the ability, there's plays in every single one of those games that you wish you could take back. If you execute it, it's a different record. But that's a part of growth, right? Those great programs find a way to win those games, and that's what we're all striving to be. We're all striving to be that program that is on the mountaintop. And so if we continue to learn from those tough losses, and you're going to learn from wins, but the tough losses, we can continue to learn from those and hopefully not repeat those mistakes, but also get to a place where if you have a mistake or two, which are going to happen in games, it doesn't really determine the outcome of the game, because that's what we're all evaluated by, is the outcome. But we got to make sure the process to getting that outcome is enhanced and improved. And so we'll look back at this season at some point and say, okay, where's the areas that we're deficient and have to make sure we develop and improve at to become that team that has the desired results that we all want. But that's 2 games from now that we'll look back and say, okay, hey, this is where we really have to make sure we dive into the schematic aspect, the personnel aspect, the development aspect, to get the results that we all want.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Have a good Thanksgiving, guys.